You've probably read the news the other day. Was it Grant Shapps? He was basically saying that, yeah, people need to get used to the fact that war's coming or World War III might be around the corner. Okay, fair enough. If World War III is around the corner, you get your kids in the military and we'll see how keen you are for a war. Because I can guarantee you, these people, they'll not be in the front lines with people like a working class background. Ex-soldiers like probably myself and other veterans that'll end up getting called up. They'll not be thinking about my little Jeffrey or Tarquin or whatever. They're safe. They're out of harm's way, which is nonsense. It's an absolute joke. If you want to go warmongering, fair enough, but back it up, put yourself on the line, put your family members on the line, and we'll see how keen you are for it. That's one thing that really grips me about politicians. It's always other people's kids that get killed for them.
Alan Russell, how you doing, mate?
I'm good, yourself, Paul?
Aye, good man, I'm doing no bad, mate. So ex-British Army soldier, also a former HGV driver, now a personal trainer. That a fair sort of statement on your life so up to this point?
Up to this point, I'd say, yeah. Like, left school, didn't really have much, like, in terms of, like, qualifications and stuff like that, so it was pretty much either stay in a dead-end job. I was working at IKEA at the time, I think. And it was either that or go away to the army. So, yeah, that's what you did. That's how I ended up going there, yeah.
We'll get into the army stuff, but I know recently you had just done Hyrox, and I know you're involved with sort of boot camp classes in the sort of Pennycook, Midlothian area, sort of helping people train for that as well. So, start there if that's all right, mate.
Yeah, go for it, yeah.
Aye, so what's that been like, the Hyrox sort of experience? It looks like a big sports day to me, a very expensive one, but...
well... It's not the cheapest, and trying to get tickets as well can be quite a bit of a gamble, unless you're in with one of like the affiliated gyms or something like that. As soon as like general sale goes out, you've literally got to be hot on the button to get a ticket straight away.
Is that for spectators or is that for participants?
No, that's for participants. Like UK wide, I think it was Birmingham recently. Birmingham, they only released the tickets. I think before it even went on sale, all the tickets had sold out because the affiliated gyms had basically like handed out like passes to like their members and stuff, and they like all the members had just snaffled all the tickets, so nobody got a look in, or hardly anybody got a look in when they went on general sale. And it was the same again when they chucked I think they chucked the Friday on just before it. They put out they were going to have like a big announcement. Everything's coming at 6:30. And I was still working at 6:30, so, and it, like I saw it like half 9 at night. Quite a few of my clients had basically put in the chat that like they'd all bagged a ticket for the Friday for the Birmingham Hyrox basically happening. And I went to look on, went to go and buy a ticket, and gone. So it's like honestly it's mental how busy Hyrox is. Like as you say, sports day as well. It's testing wise, it's probably one of the best things you can do to test yourself, right? Because you've got running in there, you've got strength in there, and you've like once you finish it, you've got a time to start with to go, right, do you know what? That's where I'm at just now. I can build on that. I can move on that. And it's the best. Like I would say, it's test and goes. It's probably one of the best ways to test yourself because the weights are the same. The stations are the same. Basically, the whole premise is the same no matter where you go. It might be a slightly different layout in like different areas, like let's just say London, Manchester, Birmingham, Glasgow. Glasgow was apparently the best run one recently. The one they just did there. I mean, I was at the one last year, and the stations were like gobbledygook all over the place. So it was like running in, all right, I need to go there. Oh, I need to go there. Whereas this one, everything was one after the other, and you knew exactly where you were going. There was no error for getting lost on that one, but some people did.
And your training for that then, is it do you set up the stations basically, do you, in your classes or something?
Yeah. Aye, so like basically you need to see what each person is, what their fitness levels are. So when they come into your classes, you get a gauge for how fast they are when it comes to running, because what I tend to do is like I've got a kilometre loop mapped out near the gym, take them round in a kilometre loop, see where they're at. We go for a group run first and then individual efforts, see how well they do on the individual efforts, and then obviously once you know roughly what the speeds are for certain people, you'll maybe get like a couple of them, you'll hold them back, just getting like doing like a little bit extra on some of the stations, so that they're getting something out of it. But the people that are a little bit slower, they are getting the chance to get the loop done while the other people are coming in, and it gives them that chance to, when they all come in, they're all as tired as each other. So it's just about how fit they are for each session, so you know roughly what certain people will be capable of. And it's basically setting up to make sure that they get progression every time they come in. Now, Hyrox is open to everybody. Anybody can do it. But obviously, when you're starting out, it's better to go in there with some form of fitness. It's better to go and like try, a class out at, let's just say, like a gym or a PT studio or a boot camp or wherever. Because if you go in there blind, you're setting yourself up for failure big time. I went in there blind and signed up with my mate to the pro last year, and yeah, I completed it, but it was a wake up call, massive wake up call.
In terms of like the time you did, or just how much arduous effort it was for you? Or?
Well, I was training for it. I didn't have all the kit for training for it, so I was just having to. Let's just say you had the skier, I was using like straight arm lat pull downs. When it came to like the sled, I was just having to do heavy squats because I didn't have a sled at the time. It was one of them that like I wasn't actually, my gym wasn't set up for Hyrox at the time, and it was one of them. I thought after the event, I thought, do you know what, I need to start getting this kit so I can trial again for it next year. And I knocked 14 minutes off my time between last year and this year, but I didn't do the pro this year, so weights wise, if I'd done the pro again, it would have knocked some. I probably would have had more time on there, but not quite as bad as what I did last year. Well, I say bad. It was an hour and a half. It was just over an hour and a half. It was my first attempt at it, but I went into it injured. I'd knackered my shoulder. It was just doing a bench press. I was just sitting on the bench, done my warm up set, done 2 full sets, and then like the third set, took the bar off the rack. Was nowhere near like heaviest weight for me, and I just felt a ping in my left shoulder, so I put the bar back on the rack. Just thought, right, well, I say a ping, I felt like a slight twinge, and I thought, oh, that felt a bit awkward, I'll just give it a second, give it a couple of minutes, and then went to go again, and then just felt it go. So I tried to rehab myself for that, and stupidly I told the wife, nah, I'm not going to do it, I'm just going to go through and support everybody. And when I got through there, I was looking around, and I thought, I want to do this. It was just one of them. Like, everybody was there for the event, and
carried away a wee bit.
Oh, I got my arse kicked by the missus for that. Like, I definitely got carried away. Like, it was when I was chatting to my mate Steve. He's like, just go and try that and that. He's like, that's probably, like, I was looking at it thinking as well, I was like, that's going to injure me if anything. And he was like, well, just give it a wee try. And it was just a case of like the skier, just gave it a little try. I thought, shoulder feels all right. Sled push, sled pull. Like the pull on the shoulder, I thought that might injure it a wee bit as well. No, totally fine. And then I just thought, sod it, I'll do it. And went and did it, got through it. And then obviously the voice of reason from the wife came in. You could have got injured, you could have done this. And I was like, do you know what, you're actually right. You're right. But I wouldn't, like, I suppose it seems a bit ignorant me saying this, but I wouldn't have known what the event was like. I would have been totally gutted. Like,
you maybe wouldn't have got all the equipment at your gym potentially if you hadn't had that experience. It sounds like, no?
I probably, like, I wouldn't have seen it in the same light, if you know what I mean. Having done it and having experienced it, knowing that, like, I was physically done in after it, it was good to see how you actually felt after an event like that. Now, the first time I did it, it's honestly, I think I had DOMs for about 5 days, and like I've never had DOMs like that in my body. Like, my whole back, I felt like somebody had taken a cricket bat to my back. I just top to bottom just felt done in, and to feel like that, I was like, that's It's actually not bad. Like to get a buzz like that at an event, and no matter how hard you train as well, no matter how hard you put yourself through a simulation, it's never as hard as what it is on the day, because you've got obstacles like different people to try and get around. You've got people standing in the way at like water stations and stuff like that, and you're trying to scramble around them and just trying to get into the stations so you can try and get a quicker time. But in the same respect, you'll come out of station absolutely fatigued. You think, oh, I need a drink of water, and you're the one standing in the way then, and you're sitting there thinking like, oh, I just need a drink, I need a drink, and then somebody will try and hand you a Red Bull, and you're like, mate,
proud sponsors of Hyrox.
Aye, well, proud sponsors, aye. Yeah, but there's could they do things a wee bit better, sort of, but
they could charge folk less for a start.
Aye, well, I suppose for them, renting the SECC can't be cheap, like when it comes to Glasgow. But also in respects to that, like I think the other year it was like 8 to 9 quid a ticket or whatever, and now it's 104 quid a ticket, and that's in the space of a year, you know. And like on top of that, they charge 30 quid on top of that for your photos. So that's on top. And then you look at the merchandise store. The merchandise store is like 70 quid a jumper, 35 quid a t-shirt. And like I've already said to you about like the cost of t-shirts. The cost for me to make t-shirts with my branding for my gym and stuff. Aye, you're probably talking about 15 quid a t-shirt. But you know yourself, like a big brand like that, yeah, what they're charging, yeah, they can get away with saying, "Oh, we'll beat you that for it."
Aye, definitely. That's the only thing. It does seem good. Like there's a lot of people that I sort of see on like obviously Instagram and sort of Facebook doing it. So do you think culturally, like events like that are helping Scotland become like maybe a sort of fitness, like health conscious type of nation?
Well, if you look at like the younger generations, a lot of them are getting into fitness. They're getting priced out alcohol, but in the same respects, you're hearing a lot more drug deaths now because drugs are cheaper than alcohol, which is it's either like what way do you want to push them towards? You definitely want to push them towards like getting fitter, getting healthier, and getting more knowledgeable on that subject, and staying away from like, you know, like I know like obviously growing up, you've probably seen it. There's no buy one get one free at pubs anymore. There's no happy hour. Like nothing's like it used to be for us. But in the same respect to that, is that no? I would say it is a good thing pushing the younger generation towards fitness as opposed to something else. But
even our generation, to be fair, because you compare like our lifestyles to like our mums and dads' lifestyles. That I think do we count as millennials? I think we are.
Probably.
Right. So I think even our generation, there's been a move towards having a more sort of fitness, sort of active lifestyle than what our mums and dads would have. Oh
no, definitely. I mean, like when I went away to the army, like that was one thing that was drilled into us. It was fitness. But to the same respect to that, it was alcohol and fitness. Like they were probably the biggest bunch of functioning alcoholics you've ever met in your life, because they would be out until like 5 o'clock in the morning, and then 7 o'clock PT, you'd be up. I'd be taking PT, so sometimes the people that I was out with were trying to get me hammered so that the PT session would be easy. They would always try and get me hammered to try and get the
like a lie-in and stuff like that.
Well, get the PT session cancelled, or we'll just play football today because he's too knackered to do the session. But I would always turn up and just, right lads, we're doing this or we're doing that, and we would jump in and get on with it. But you would get especially down in Colchester, we used to have what's called, like, just outside Friday Woods, there's a place called, just outside the camp, there's a place called Friday Woods. And you would always hear about the Friday Woods sniper, right? Nobody got shot, don't worry. Like, somebody would be running along and be like, oh, my leg, oh, my ankle. And they were just smashed from the night before. And that was their way of getting out of it, because they were dying. So they get chucked in the jack wagon and just taken round like back to camp.
What's the jack wagon? Just like
that's like if you're willing to swear.
I swear.
Right. Well, in the army, like if your mates are all doing something and you don't do it, you're a jack bastard. That's what you get called, a jack bastard, because you're not pulling your weight, sort of thing, right? So if somebody fell out for PT, they'd be in the jack wagon because they're a jack bastard, because they've jacked on all their mates. Now, the way they used to run it was, like, if you were out on like a combat fitness test, or if you were running a bit with Bergens and stuff like that, they would take them off. They would, like, if they were knackered, you would take them off them. The rest of the troop had to carry their kit and keep them up the front and keep pushing them and keep moving them and whatever. And you would see basically the Bergen would get dropped by them. It would get passed to the next person. They would filter to the back. They'd keep going, keep going, keep going. But if that person then got in the wagon, it's like, he's just a jack bastard. He's just a lazy bastard. But obviously, military now, I don't know what the military is like now, because I've been out for coming up 14 years now. So it's probably changed a lot since I was in. I've heard from a few of my mates that it's, just completely different to when we served. But times change, people change, things change.
Of course, no, you've obviously mentioned the military. We're going to go on to that. And then, so what made you join the army, Alan? Was it because sort of members of your family had served and that was just a sort of progression, or was it more deeper than that?
I think my brother was already in by that point, and it was just one of them that I couldn't see my life going anywhere. I was stuck, like I said to you, I was stuck in a dead end job by IKEA, and IKEA were offering me, like, we'll give you your forklift licence, we'll give you this, we'll give you that, and I just wanted to go out and see the world. And the army offered that. Don't get me wrong, the pay wasn't great, but you got to see, like, a lot of the world.
But like, do you think that's like part of the army's like allure? Like, that's why they recruit in working class communities, sort of thing, because we've not been exposed to that sort of travel in our life.
Well, I hadn't really travelled a lot as a kid. It was just one of them, like you say, working class family. My dad was away working all week, trying to support us, trying to support the family, and my mum was looking after me, my brother and my sister. So we were, I wouldn't call us poor, but like, we obviously, one wage to support a family wasn't a lot back then. And like, obviously, when you're growing up, you see all your mates for like all the best of gear. Like, I'll give you a story here. Like, for an example, my mate had Nike trainers, and I was like, I really want a set of Nike trainers to my mum, right? And my mum took me down to, I think it was like you remember the Co-op in Pennycook? Like, they had the big Co-op, the big corner store. I think it's a Vets now, Gordon's Vets, I think it is now. That used to be a big Co-op, like home store sort of thing, right? They sold trainers, they sold all that sort of stuff. And my mum took me in there and she bought me a set of Nicks, right? And obviously, they're not Nike trainers. So it's one of them, like, when I got the trainers out, I was like, I'm going to get bullied at school with these. I am going to get battered. So I put these brand new trainers on. My dad was looking after us at the public park at the time. And I jumped into public park's burn and basically ran up and down with these trainers and absolutely trashed them. And my dad leathered me. Like, it's one of them, like, I deserved it. But it was one of them, I thought, I'm going to get bullied at school for this. I am going to get I'm just going to get slagged off. And it was like, you know, kid, you know what it's like when you're a kid. Kids can be mean, like, especially if you've not got the best of gear. Let's just say somebody was wearing Kappa trainers, or no, Kappa trackies, and somebody's wearing Lecoq Sportif. It's no Adidas and it's no Nike.
Aye, so you're into sabotage even as a teenager.
Well, I wouldn't say it was sabotage, but it was one of them, like, it wasn't that I wasn't ungrateful for what I was getting, but I just thought, I'm going to get bullied here. And the last thing I want is to get bullied at school, get slagged off by your mates as well, and look at you scarf. You'll remember that. So, but I definitely do reckon that the recruit just, I wouldn't say it's people that haven't had much of an upbringing, because some people come from all walks of life in the military. Some people have wanted to do that since they were a kid. Some people, like you say, that like their family members have done it before them, or they're like third generation going into the military or whatever. But aye.
When you hear it, it's part of like their advertising campaign. It's like, you know, be the best, see the world and all that. But I think from my perspective, like, I would argue with Scott about this. Like my brother was in the military, and I would sort of say you don't need to just join the army to have those experiences. Like you could, as even if you're a young working class person, sort of save up your money, like live a sort of frugal lifestyle, and then just go and like backpack or do the whole European tour.
Yeah, maybe now you could, but back in the day you didn't have like all the mobile phones telling you like, look, this is out there for X amount of money, or that's out there for X amount of money. Like you weren't as exposed as you are now. Whereas like when we were kids, it was like, well, mobile phones. It was like when what's it called? Matrix came out. You had the old Nokia 3210 with the wee flip bit like that. That's how bad phones were back then. You didn't even get internet on them. So with respects to that, I mean, like I got to do so many things that I probably wouldn't have done had I not been in the military. Like adventure training, going away to places like Austria. Like don't get me wrong, like I could do that now. I know I could do that now. But when I was a kid, it wasn't even on my radar. Like so, I went away to Austria and did like whitewater rafting in Austria. Went away cycling in Bavaria. I got into the regimental ski team when I was out in Germany. So ended up going out to, where was it? Norway to train, to basically be shown how to ski. Went from Norway to competitions in the south of France, like skiing in the south of France, and you're getting paid to ski. And then going to places like Bavaria again, but in ski season. So you're getting paid to ski around like beautiful places that, you know, you can say you can go and experience these things, but the cost of these things are quite exorbitant. Mm-hmm. But the fact that you're getting paid to go and do that, your accommodation's paid for you, your food's paid for you for the vast majority. All you need is beer tokens, and like it's a different. Honestly, it is a different way of life. Like I'm not trying to sell it for the army, right? Because we all end up like at some stage hating being in, because like your circumstances in your life will change, and you'll be sitting there thinking, do you know what, this isn't what it was when I joined, or like, you know, I'm looking to settle down with my family now. I need to put them first before I put that first. And the military is just, you're a number in the military. Like it's like literally that's your cake. Eat it, and if you don't like it, well, we've got you for 4 years. Like you literally, when you sign on for 4 years. When you get to your third year, that's when you can sign off, and you've got a year's notice. It's not like any other job.
Do you know what I mean? That's a very interesting point that I wasn't even thinking about before this, but do you think that's something that could and should change or will change probably in the future? Because like me, if I don't want to work in my job, I just give my month's notice and I'm free to go, right? It's a free market. Do you think we'll get to that stage in the army at some point? Is that stuff that like you guys would have been talking about when you were in the army, or do you think now like people are having those conversations potentially? What
you mean, like get out of the army for like a month's notice?
Aye, like a month or 3 months.
I can't see that. Like see with the amount of money they pump into you as a soldier, like to train you to like get you up to speed on like weapon systems and, you know, first aid and driving skills, putting you through your licenses. Sometimes even like putting you through qualifications like when I was in Colchester, you were rigger marshals under helicopters. You would basically, like a helicopter would come in and you'd be trained to basically,
you're standing there with the glow sticks and that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say the glow sticks. We weren't quite raving on the Salisbury plain, but no, you'd be waiting on it coming in. You would like tap the bottom of it, stop the electric shock from hitting you, because like all the electricity that comes off the aircraft, like it basically you've got to put it somewhere. But like qualifications like that, like for the army to put you through all that stuff, it's no cheap. So I can't see them changing their. I mean, like, well, you've probably read the news the other day. Like, was it Grant Sharps? He was basically saying that people need to get used to the fact that war's coming, or World War III might be around the corner. Right? Okay, fair enough. If World War III is around the corner, you get your kids in the military, and we'll see how keen you are for a war. Because I can guarantee you, like a lot of these people, like. They'll not be in the front lines with like people like a working class background, or ex-soldiers like probably myself and other veterans that'll end up getting called up. They'll not be thinking about, you know, oh, my little Jeffrey or Tarquin or whatever. Like, they're safe. They're out of harm's way, which is nonsense. It's an absolute joke. So if you want to go warmongering, fair enough, but back it up. Put yourself on the line. Put your family members on the line, and we'll see how keen you are for it. Like, that's one thing that really grips me about politicians. It's always other people's kids who get killed for them. So
I definitely agree with you.
Yeah.
We'll maybe get to that in time. I'm keen to talk about your sort of journey through the military, because you've had some pretty intense, interesting experiences, it sounds like, through your life there. So I don't know obviously a lot about that. I've never been in, but was it like a logistics sort of regiment you were involved with, was it?
Well, when my brother joined, I was going to join, and I was looking through the options. There was different things, and I just signed to the first one that my brother was in. It was like he was in the rural logistic course. So I thought, do you know what? He's got his driving licence out of it. I want to do that. I want to get a trade behind me, because we used to go away with my dad when we were kids. Now, if my dad had told me like how bad the lorry driving game was, like when I was, and like even looking at it, I wouldn't have even entertained that. I probably would have gone like, I don't know, para-reg or engineers or something like that. Like, I would have got a different trade, like something that you can come out with and be like, oh, I'm a sparky, or oh, I'm a plumber, you know, or a brickie or whatever. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, bricklaying isn't exactly great in Scotland in the winter either, right? But it's one of them that, like, chatting away to like different people and seeing different people's experiences. Like, having hindsight's a beautiful thing, but when I joined up, I thought, right, my brother's doing that, I'll just join up, I'll just do that. And I was going to try and get posted to where he was, because I thought, do you know what, if I know a couple of faces, it'll make the experience a wee bit easier. And then when I was due to get posted straight out of phase 2 training, he told me that he was away at the Bomb Disposal Regiment in Edinburgh. So I was sitting there thinking, all right, that means I can't get posted there, because it's like it's a small posting. There's only so many people can go there. And I thought, right, it's either I go to the regiment that he was at and he was miserable there, or I go with my mates out to Germany and go and try something else. So I went out to Germany, spent 3 years out there, did a tour of Iraq when I was out there as well.
What's the timeline then? Like, when did you join? Like, what year
2003. January 2003.
Right, okay. Because I was looking earlier, I think that's, when was it we went into Afghanistan, was it?
Afghanistan was 2001.
Was it as early as it?
Yeah, 2001, because it was straight after September the 11th.
Alright, so it was Afghanistan first and then Iraq, was it?
Yeah. Aye.
So when was it? Was Iraq 2003 then?
2003, yeah. So when I was going through basic training, Iraq had basically just kicked off.
So you knew, basically, when you joined, you were like, there's a high probability I could end up in Iraq.
Iraq or Afghan, I knew both were possible, but when I went out to Germany, I ended up going to Iraq after a couple of years in Germany. So I think it was like 2004 into 2005. Went out to Basra and Shaiba, and I did a 6-month tour out there. Iraq was interesting. Obviously, as a young soldier, that's you've been given a lot of training and stuff, but you've never been, you know, in a scenario where you're potentially getting shot at, or potentially things are going to go wrong. So all sorts of scenarios go through your head. Now, before I went to Iraq, this is going to sound weird, and folk are going to go, nah, that didn't happen, blah, blah, right? But I remember the night before we were due to deploy, I was lying in my bed. I just got moved into Slam accommodation. You're probably talking 3 or 4 weeks before that, maybe even 2 months before that. And Slam accommodations was single living accommodation. And I was lying in my bed, and I just remember waking up in a pool of sweat, because I had this dream that I got blown up, and it was one of them. It was just, you know, like you just wake up thinking, Jesus Christ, right, everything's here, I'm all right, like, you know, like it was just a dream. Mm-hmm. And the whole time I was out in Iraq, like my bum was like, you know, 5p, 50p. Yeah, you're constantly on tenterhooks, constantly looking around thinking, is this my time, sort of thing. Now, Iraq, I wouldn't say not too much happened out there. We got mortared, we got shot at, we got blown up. it was an odd pot shot now and again. Like nothing too bad happened when we were there. Like one of my mates' wagons got blown up, but thankfully the countermeasures we had at the time basically set off the infrared light, and it basically blew it up before we even got to it. So that basically saved his life. Some of the convoys that we used to bring across the border from Kuwait, you'd be driving along, and I remember this one day, like this American convoy was coming the other way, and they were about 100 vehicles long. They were just fuel tankers of oil just getting pumped to Iraq and taken into Kuwait for processing. That's driving the other way, so we're stuck, and all of a sudden there's this massive traffic jam, and I'm thinking, something's not right here. This convoy should be rolling. There's no reason it shouldn't be. And then I saw the front half of the convoy between the American vehicles. This is like Safan border crossing. It's like a big dog leg to basically go into like one of the main supply routes. And I'm thinking, right, this isn't right. That the front half of the convoy's disappearing over there, but we're still here. So we got on the radios and said, look, you need to stop at a safe location. But we've got a problem with the convoy. There's something going on. As soon as the last American went past, my mate Col Heron was the driver, and I think it was Jay Knight. He was in the back with like the big Elvis body armour on that was just not fit for purpose. Like, it just looked like remember the State Puff Marshmallow Man? He just looked like that in the back of the wagon. Driving along this, like I said, look, get us up to the front of the convoy. Let's see what's going on. He started booting it along, and I'm looking between the vehicles as we're getting closer and closer, and I thought, Jesus Christ, this isn't good. There's like a big mob came across to start stripping the wagons, because unbeknownst to us, one of them had basically thrown a ratchet strap underneath the wheel, and it had popped the tyre, and the truck couldn't move anywhere. And I got to a point where I thought, right, we're close enough to the front of it. I opened my door and I said, look, Cole, as soon as you get through, just send Jay to come back and help me from the other side. I was like, but I need to try and nip this in the bud. So I jumped out, his vehicle was moving, he carried on, I ran through, and there's an Iraqi stood probably about 100 metres away from me. He stood there with like an assault rifle, an AK-47 assault rifle, and I just dropped to my knee, and it's maybe army, stop or shoot. Right, like, because at the end of the day, he's got a weapon system there, and I'm thinking, all right, dropped to my knee, slid up, and army stop or shoot went out my head. I was like, fuck off or I'll fucking slot you. And he was like, oh, me? Like, he turned around, started running away, and I was like, oh fuck, that's that dealt with. Don't need to deal with him. And obviously you've got all these Iraqis on the truck. They're just stripping the truck. Look, I get it from their perspective. They're hungry. They're trying to get supplies. I totally get that, right? But obviously these are supplies that are meant to be going to soldiers on frontline bases, and basically making sure that they're like well fed as well. Bombs, bullets, all that sort of stuff. And I pointed my rifle at them, and I was like, fuck off. Like, I was like, guys, you need to go. And they just look at you like, yeah, alright, dickhead, that's not happening. We know you can't shoot us, we've not got weapons. So they just carry on. And I'm stood there, I'm like, what do I do now then? So I just basically clipped my rifle, slung it behind my back, and I had HASS buttons, you know, the police HASS buttons. I flicked that thing out, and I just started running at them. I was like, you know, like Braveheart sort of scream. I'm like, fucking, like, honestly, they just started legging it, like, every which way, and I was like, fuck me, this is just...
That wasn't part of the training then?
No, God, no. Like, but it was just me against a group of them. And I saw, at that point, I saw Colin pull the snatch Land Rover in, and I saw Jay get out, and Jay starts walking up to basically back me up, sort of thing. And as I turn round, I just see this Iraqi running away with the spare wheel for the truck. He's just rolling it down the hill, and I'm chasing him, thinking, I need to get the spare wheel because we need to get this truck moving again. And it was just one of them. It was almost comical, but not comical, because you're sitting there thinking, it could have gone way, way worse than what it did. And I mean, like, you're not trying to be bad. You're there as a peacekeeper. You just want to. You just want to do your job. You just want to go home at the end of the day. Nobody wants to go out there and get killed. So like that was one scenario in Iraq where you're just like, all right, as a young soldier, first time on an operational tour, you're like, all right, well that was interesting. But after that, they pulled out the baton guns for us as well. Now, the baton guns, I don't know if you've ever seen one of them before. right? They used to use them extensively in Ireland, right? Obviously for the riot and control and stuff like that. But that basically highlighted a need for a non-lethal deterrent, because we were like, look, we didn't have an option between getting in a fist fight with these guys and potentially them snatching your weapon and overrunning you and shooting you, or shooting them and using lethal force, and you don't want to do that. So they basically put us on like a baton gun training after that, and baton guns are like big cylindrical rubber bullets about that length, and honestly, like when you're getting trained on them, you're firing them at mattresses in the desert, and you're just hitting these mattresses, just try to hit them. I would not want to be on the receiving end of one of them, but that was purely as like a backup. We never had to use them after that. It was one of them that, like, that was probably one of the, I'd probably say one of the worst scenarios we had out there. The other one was taking convoys down to like Qazar and places like that. Like that was one of my last details when I was out there. And when we were out there, because of that dream that I'd had before I went into Iraq, I was sitting there thinking, this is going to be my time, sort of thing. Like, you know, you just it's going through your mind, and you're just thinking, right, just got to go on with it. Just accept, right, I'm a dead man walking, sort of thing. Like, just, it's one of them, you just try and put it to the back of your mind. And we drove all the way down to Qazar, got rid of the wagons that we had to get rid of, and it was basically just because the wagons were getting sent back to Germany, it was basically just a run straight back up, us and a couple other Snarks Land Rovers just heading up. And as I was pulling out the gates, I was thinking, oh my god, this is it, this is my time, sort of thing. And driving up the road, call came over the radio, like, I think the call signs were Tango, or it was like Sierra or Tango, like it was hello Tango 1, this is Widow 6-3 and Widow 6-4, come in. And you're just like, alright, who's Widow 6-3 and Widow 6-4? And they're just like, just look up. And obviously in a Starks Land Rover you can't look up. We opened the doors and there's two Apache gunships above us. I thought, oh my god, like, saviour sort of thing, right? I thought I've got an escort all the way back to camp, because they were basically patrolling the highway above us. And I was sitting there thinking, almost relieved, because I thought, do you know what, if something does go wrong, I'm going to get Kazivaked there, and, well, not straight away, but I'm going to get, you know, people are going to be on scene to help me as soon as possible. But nothing ever happened out there. Now that dream that I had before I went to Iraq, when I went to Afghan, it happened in Afghan. Like, that's the spooky thing about it all. Like, that detonation that I dreamt about, like deja vu or whatever you want to call it, premonition, whatever, that actually happened out in Afghan. Like, and I'd completely forgotten about that until it happened. And it was one of them, like, you're just sitting there, like, when you hear this almighty bang go off, there's dust everywhere, your ears are ringing. I got thrown about. I was inside a Vector, which is basically like an armoured pins giver. It's about as much protection as a Snarks Land Rover gives you as well, which isn't very much. And dust everywhere, you can't see anything, tapping the legs, and I'm thinking, right, my legs are still here, that's a good sign. And out of nowhere I saw my mate Mac on my right hand side, and Brad McDonald on my right hand side. I looked over and I was like, Mac, you alright? And he's like, I'm fine. So we high-fived and busted laughing. You know, they'll say, you either laugh or you cry. And I looked in the back, because we had a captain in the back, and he was captain of the radio troop, and he already had like a cigarette lit. He was like shaking with a cigarette, and I was like, what are you shaking for? I was like, the bomb went off under my arse, no yours. And he was like, it's my birthday, I'll shake if I want to shake, alright. I was like, well, at least you got a bang for your birthday. I was like, at least you'll not forget it either. But it's aye, like that sort of dream, like, when that came back, I was like, what are the chances of me having that dream? Like, about, we're probably talking, we went out it was about a year and a half before I went to Afghan, because we did the Iraq, it was 05, 06 we did Iraq, Telex 7, and then we were out on Hyrox with 13 Air Assault Regiment, and it was a completely different unit that I was with when I got blown up out in Afghanistan. But there was nuts, absolutely nuts. Just thinking about it, just, you know, it brought back some memories, but I was like, well, I didn't die. Like, because in my dream, I saw blood everywhere. Like, I thought, right, legs are gone sort of thing. That's me, I'm done. But when it happened and I got away with it, I thought, I can relax a wee bit, but yeah, it was sketchy, very sketchy.
Wow, there's loads in there. So can you remember like the morning, like this Afghanistan?
What out in Afghan?
Like the before, like waking up, breakfast, all that stuff. Like whatever happened before that instant? Can you take us through like the day before, like leading up to that? Was it just a standard?
Well, like basically what happens is like when you get when you're going out on like an operation, we would tend to leave like early doors or late at the evening. If you leave late in the evening, there's a lot less chance, because we were going to, where was it? Fob, Edinburgh, which was just outside Musakala, DC. It was this side of the Helmand River. Because we didn't have to go through Gereshk was like Suicide Alley. Like, you had to go through Gereshk at like certain points at night, because they basically had a curfew in place for the local population so that the Taliban couldn't cycle up with a suicide bomber on a motorbike and just detonate next to your vehicle, because it did happen. So because we were going to Fob Edinburgh, it was one of them, we could literally pick, I say pick times, but we could choose at which time that we went off to go there. There was only like certain areas, certain wadis before you got to Fob Edinburgh that you really had to worry about. You're on about the IED, aren't you?
Was that what you were talking about?
Sorry, I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about completely different. Up. No, the IED, we were going to Fob Robinson, which is just outside Sangin, DC. It's just outside Sangin, DC. So we had to travel at night. Like late at night, and basically once you got through Gereshk, you were on the other side of the river, you were travelling up, you'd pass a place to your left that was like, it's called the Witch's Hat, and like that was like a part of the green zone that basically cut in like that, and basically like they had a forward operating base there on the way up to Fob Rob, but we were going to I can't remember if we were resupplying that one on the way back down, but we were basically going up through the desert, and it was just one of them, like, whenever you get to a vulnerable point, like whenever you get to a VP, you would basically, the guys in the front vehicles would dismount. They had basically fancy military metal detectors that are slightly better than what you would get on Civilian Street, but depending on which ones they give you. You would basically just check round about, just constantly where the tracks and the inside of the vehicle is going to be, just to make sure there's nothing there. And if you found anything, you would stop short. You would check it all. But like, basically, like when we go through Gereshk, we're heading up there, and went to a couple of VPs. Like, what we tended to do was like go completely into the desert, because the further you were out into the desert, the less likely you were to come across IEDs. Because 9 times out of 10, it's places where you're funneled into somewhere that you've got to go through. That's where they tended to dig these IEDs in and basically wait for you to come in. They would either do it with a command wire, or they would do it with it'd be like a metal plate contact. So basically, like if they would bake it under the sun, so you wouldn't know it was there, and the tyre tracks would go across. And because it was like lightly put in, when the weight of the vehicle came down on it, it basically connect the two plates together, and the homemade explosives or the mortars, whatever they had attached to it, would go off and they'd detonate underneath you. So we're driving along just fine, and we're in one of these points that's in the middle of nowhere. You wouldn't think there would be IEDs there, but the guys did get out, and the guys did check the VP point where we came in. Nothing there. There was about 5 vehicles in front of us, and one of them should have taken the hit. It was nuts. It was like one of them should have set this off.
Because you're driving in a straight line, presumably.
We're following in the tracks behind them. So everybody's following in the tracks. So, you know, if you're staying within the tracks of the vehicle in the front, you should be safe, right? You should be safe. So we're driving up this hill, and then obviously there's this almighty thud underneath me. I get flung forward, my face hits the windscreen, my knees bounce off the dash, back into the chair, and like I said to you before, checked the legs, had a chat with Mac, checked with the gaffer, and it was like the training kicked in. We'd been training constantly of like basically how to get away like to the next vehicle to safety, so that you're away from any potential kill zone, like if you were to be ambushed or anything like that. So I basically got out, action stations kicked in, I checked, started doing like checks round the back of the vehicle, and I was like, there's something still there. There's definitely something there.
Another IED.
Well, it was in and around the explosion where it had happened, right? So I thought there's something still there. I marked it, and I basically cleared a safe line to the vehicle behind me. Now, what annoyed me was as soon as we had an EOD team with us, they were getting taken out to the forward operating base.
Sorry, I don't know what that is.
Explosive ordnance disposal team.
Right.
So we had 5 of them and one of the mastiffs up the front, a couple of engineers, a couple of EOD techs, and I'd cleared the lane to the vehicle behind me, and they said, just like it came over the call came over the radio, just stay in the vehicle. And I'm like, tell me that now. I'm sat at the next vehicle behind me. So I basically had to walk back up the safe lane. Like, don't get me wrong, I knew it was safe, and get back into the vehicle that was in. So we just sat there and we waited and nothing's happening. And the next thing there's another explosion right next to us, and we were like, what the actual fuck is going on? Like another IED had gone off. And we got straight on the radio, we're like, do you guys want to tell us what's going on here? Because it's not like we can bug out if there's a contact. Like, what is actually happening? They're like, we found another 2 IEDs just ahead of your vehicle. We've just detonated them. We're like, well, we've just been blown up. Do you want to tell us that you're detonating these things? And they're like, sorry, we just need to sort this out. We were told, this is like another operation, we were told to basically deliver a turbine to Kajaki. The Americans basically said that it couldn't be done. They wanted to build a runway next to Kajaki. But the British government were like, no, we'll do it. So we got sent out on a dummy convoy, and our sister squadron went out and did like a dummy convoy up to Kajaki, and they found something like it was in like the 6 hours or 6 or 8 hours that they'd basically progressed up to, I think it was Musakala. They'd had something like, honestly, well over 100 IEDs found and dug up. And it was one of them you were thinking, that can't be right. Like, you can't expect us to do an operation like that in 24 hours sort of thing. I mean, that operation ended up lasting about 3 days. We delivered the turbine to Kajaki, but it didn't get put in for like another 6 years or something after it. It was one of them. It was all about hearts and minds and trying to, look after the people that you're meant to be protecting. But you'd always hear the radio, like they would call it ICOM chat. You'd always hear the radio, and you'd hear the interpreter basically saying, "Oh, the Taliban are in the area. The Taliban are watching you," and you're like, "Well, what do you want me to do about that? There's not a lot I can do about that. They're watching me, which means they're in with one of the locals or something like that. There's nothing you can do about it. Mm-hmm. You've just got to hope they don't shoot you, because if they do shoot you, you've got to return fire." It's just one of them. I mean, when we were coming back for that operation for Kajaki, my mate's Mastiff, the bomb disposal dog, got out with its handler, and every single one of us looked at that dog and thought, that dog's wagging something. And the dog handler's like, "Come on, let's just go back in and jump back in the Mastiff." And we were like, I think there's something there. And Dux's wagon rolled forward, and he was quite fortunate. He had rollers on the front of his vehicle with weight plates on it. So as soon as that went down on it, it blew up. It was basically just a load of tyres with a weight on top. Like it was a bit like those weights that the farmers drag behind them in the field. Does that make sense?
Like the plough?
No, the plough. Like, how you got like the big rollers, like the roll behind them in the field. They sometimes
like a harvester or something, is it?
Well, like they sort of roll the grass and stuff like that. It was a bit like that, but it was just all tyres with weight plates on top. So that took the detonation for that. And then the next thing, my mate's Wimmick that was coming in behind us, we were like, somebody's ran between our force protection element and the front end of the convoy. You need to stop. And as we did that, like the next thing, his Wimmick just blew up. Like it hit the IED. Yeah, like all hell broke loose. The American ops box that was basically there for us to pull into and us to rest until Suicide Alley was basically shut for curfew for the night. When that happened, the American MRAP at the back end of that got hit by an RPG. We got opened up on with I think it was an RPG as well. So we all banked out and we started engaging this compound. It was one of them. It was like this compound was a good distance away, but if you're getting stuff coming at you from it, you're opening back up on the compound. And we kept opening up on this compound because we thought we can't go anywhere because we've got casualties back there that are in that WMIC that's just blown up. Thankfully they all lived. And obviously the Mastiff had taken a bit of a dunt. But like, as that's all going off, like, yeah, we're just firing back at them, try to keep them pinned down. And it's one of them. It's not like you can go, oh, Terry, give me a minute. We call him Terry Taliban. You're like, oh, Terry, give me a minute. I'm just going to chuck my air defence on you. It's kill or be killed sort of thing. So you're just shooting back, like, try to keep them pinned down until fast air comes on station. And when the fast air came on station, it was basically a case of, right, ceasefire. They're going to take care of the threat, right? And they dropped I think they dropped £1,000 and it landed, like the first one, I think they said they had problems with like the guidance on the like it malfunctioned. It basically landed, probably talking a couple hundred metres away from us and blew up just in front of us. But the second one hit the compound, but the first one almost took us out, because I remember one of the fast air forward air controllers and the Mastiff, he's filming, he's like, yeah, whoa, like he's got him filming it, and you can hear my staff sergeant in the background shouting, well, it ain't fucking there, mate, I'll tell you that for fuck all, like, because it landed nowhere near where it was meant to land. So we were all sitting there like, Jesus Christ, my mate's antenna on the front of his WMIC for the radio, it was buckled like that because shrapnel had gone through it. So that was when we knew, Jesus, that thing must have been pretty bloody close to us for it to like cut one of the antenna on the WMICs, because they're no easy to break. So after that we had to travel and find an ops box just outside Gereshk, and then we proceeded to get mortared all day until basically, well, I say all day, we got mortared a couple of times, and then our artillery set up a counter battery like rangefinder. They found out where it was coming from and basically called in artillery strikes on where they were coming from, and they stopped. And then the rest is history. We drove back to camp. We lived to tell another day, but we'd been up for like 24 hours solid. So it was one of them, like when we came out of that contact, I've never felt adrenaline like that in my life. Like, well, everybody was shattered when we were pulling in that ops box. Like, and when I say shattered, I mean done. Like, everybody was knackered. And when that firefight kicked off, like, you were like, whoa, like, burst of adrenaline. Now, I couldn't tell you if that firefight took 20 minutes or it took 3 hours. I don't think it took 3 hours, right? But it probably could have. Like, in my head, you lose track of time. You lose track of what's going on. And when we were like I say, when we were getting shot at, like my mate Rai, who's behind me on the machine gun, when I shouted last burst, his machine gun opened up and like my eardrum went. I fell out the side of the wagon holding my head. Had like perforated eardrum. I'm lying there. Like if I'd fallen onto an IED, I could have easily blown up as well. It's just one of them. It's just luck of the draw. But when we got out of that kill zone that they tried to, hit us with, I was done. Like, I was absolutely done. I was falling asleep behind the wheel as I was driving because it was just spent. And Rai said to me, Russ, I'm done in. Is there any chance we can swap? And I was like, yeah. Like, just a change of scenery to wake you up. Because like as soon as he got in behind the wheel, he was fine. As soon as I got up on the gun behind him, fine. Like, it was a change of scenery. It woke you up. But like stuff like that. It's an experience. It's something you'll not forget. It's something you'll remember for the rest of your life. It's like it's more the mates you remember as well. Because I mean, like when you meet people in the army, you get good guys in all walks of life, you get arseholes in all walks of life. But it's one of them, you do make friends for life. You do make mates that, like, no matter what they're going through, they can always phone you, they can always have a chat with you, they can always lean on you if they need to, and vice versa. Like, if I'm pretty sure, like, if I was struggling, I could phone a number of mates for the military and just have a chat with them and just be like, I'm going through this, is there any chance I can chat to you? They'd be like, aye, cool, no problem. They'd be open to chat about anything. It's just like you could literally meet up with them and be like, all right, mate. It's a bit like me and you chatting for like when we were kids. When you reached out to do this, I was like, I'll do that. I'll come and have a chat. Like, I've not seen you in how many years? Apart from when I bumped into you at Prestwick Airport, and you thought, you're like, who's this random trying to start on me?
I don't know. I mean, that was probably about 10 years ago, maybe.
Aye. And then on top of that, you're talking what? You moved away when you were what? 5. Aye. So that's a good few years.
I think it's the intensity of it. Like, there's no many I'm just speculating here, but there's no many other situations in life where you go through such an intense experience, near-death experiences, and you see somebody's probably true character in moments like that, because like you're saying, it's kill or be killed. That's the situation. There's no more extreme than that, no?
Well, I would say so. I mean, like, it was. I wouldn't say that we had it as bad as some of the infantry guys, because we didn't. We genuinely didn't. Like, yep, did we have threats IEDs almost every time we went out? Yep, 100%. That was probably the biggest threat to us. Did we get shot at? Yeah, sure. But like when things like that did happen, what you've got to remember is, if they're shooting at like a small infantry company, or like a section that's out, there's only 8 guys that are firing back at them. If they fire at a convoy of us and there's like 50 or 100 vehicles, every single one of the vehicles has got a machine gun. The vehicle I was in had 2. Some of them were grenade machine guns, some of them were 50 cal machine guns. Sometimes it was just 2 general purpose machine guns. So you can imagine the firepower we had was just disproportionate for what we were doing. But at the end of the day, it warded off any threats. That it made them think twice about attacking convoys. Don't get me wrong, they did attack convoys, it did happen, but we were quite fortunate where we didn't have to, have as many contacts as we potentially could have. It was just all about being reactive and proactive. No, sorry, proactive instead of reactive. So if you're proactive and you're constantly checking things, you're constantly thinking, right, something's not right here, something's a bit sketchy, something feels a bit off. I'll give you another scenario. Like, we went into a place called it was Sang in DC. Not the time that I got blown up, another time, right? We were driving in there, and Al Rowe was in the commander's seat. I was driving, and we had big John Kaluka Cavalli, I think is his second name, big Fijian boy on the gun at the back, right? And we're driving through, and all we heard over the radio was like, halt, you need to stop. One of the wagons has had an accident. We're like, okay. Now, on the top of the vehicles, there are cheese cutters. They're called cheese cutters. It's basically like this. It's like a pole like that, right? But it's got like a cheese cutter on the end of it. And it's basically, that's designed to save the life of the top cover. If they put like a wire out to try and take its head off, that's there to basically cut it before it even gets anywhere near him. So it sits basically forward of him. That hit an electric power line, and basically the electric went through the truck. I wouldn't say it fried the driver, but it shocked the driver, shocked the top cover. The vehicle shot off. It ended up going through some compound, and I think some Afghans were woken up with a vehicle in the living room sort of thing. And we were like, all right, this isn't good. So we're sitting there, we're at the front of the convoy. We're like, right, okay, so I'm sitting there, I'm the driver. I pulled my pistol out, sat it on my lap, because I thought, I can't bring my weapon to bear there. It's a lot easier if I've got a pistol and I can sort of shoot back out to my right hand side if I need to. And we're just sitting there, like I've got the Lucy goggles on, like the night vision goggles. I'm looking around, and I heard something to my right hand side, and I pulled this handgun out, and I was straight up like that. And this Afghan, honestly, was stood from like about here to that wall away from me, hands up, neighbourhood watch, and I was like, I looked at Alan, I was like, did he just say neighbourhood watch? And I was like, aye. He's like, I'm going to put this over the radio and find out what the hell's going on. So Al radioed through, and he's like, at that, they're like, yeah, they do have a couple of Afghans going around doing neighbourhood watch. And I was like, what? Like, in the middle of a war zone, you got this guy on, I'm neighbourhood watch. Like, nobody briefed us on that at all. That sort of thing, like, should be brought up in like a pre-op briefing or something like that. None of us got told that. So, yeah.
Because, well, people could panic, I suppose, in situations like that.
Aye. Well, he like, I could have shot that guy.
Aye, that's what I'm thinking.
I could have shot that guy, but like, it was one of it, like, he could have been a chainsaw bill, and he could have blown me up. Anything could have happened. But it's just like, it's showing restraint as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, just sometimes you're not always that lucky. Like, if that guy had been, yeah, game over for me. Poor me. But yeah.
You've spoke about it a few times, like the sort of peacekeeping side of this. So how was this sold to you? Like, when you're in your barracks, whatever, and they say, right, look, we're going to deploy you to Afghanistan, what are they saying is like the missions, what's going to be the key objective, and what's the impact of like us going over there at that stage?
Well, but basically, we were getting sent out there to do our job. Like, the Helmand province was a lawless place. The battle group as a whole was basically out there to fight Taliban insurgency. That was one of the first things that they were doing, but also try and keep up the hearts and minds of the local population, because we didn't want to piss off the local population. Last thing you want is like people thinking you're the bad guy, because you're not. Like, if the Taliban see people chatting with you, 9 times out of 10, that person will end up getting killed. Like the Taliban will say that they're informing on them, or they're doing something, and that's it. Like, you're the infidel, you're the invader. Like, at the end of the day, it was just a job for me. Like, my job was there to basically support the other troops in the area, get stuff out to them, make sure that they got what they needed to do their job, which was, in the grand scheme of things, yeah, like, to look after like local areas, to make sure that the population could come back in, to make sure that, you know, people weren't intimidated by the Taliban, because the Taliban did rule by intimidation. And how do I put this? Like, there's a lot of stories that you don't hear, like, back in places like the UK. Like, there's some channels that I follow for like different conflicts that are still ongoing around the world, but when you switch on your local news, it'll be chatting about Kate or whatever. Like, it'll be chatting about local politics. That war started, like, let's just say UK and Russia, stuff like that, right? And this goes on with like Afghan, when the British soldiers and stuff are out there. You would only ever hear something if somebody got killed. Right, that's, another British soldier's been killed in Afghanistan. That brings the number to blah blah blah. Right, that would be the only thing you would hear about what was going on out there. You wouldn't hear that, like, like Taliban would use like kids, see children with special needs. Like, I was told about a child with special needs out there that had. Basically, one of the Taliban commanders had filled this cart with explosives, or one of the Taliban, right? Filled this cart with explosives and said, look, can you walk that up there? Can you help an old man out? Can you walk it up there? So this kid's none the wiser. This kid's walking away with this cart, not knowing that it's got like an IED under it. And like, when it got up to the checkpoint, bang, nobody's going to suspect a kid. They just blew up about like 5, like, or however many people were at the checkpoint. Bang, gone. See you later. That doesn't make the news back here. You don't hear about the stories like that go on in places like that. Like, it could be quite lawless out there. Well, a bit like the Western back in the days. You know, like, there's certain areas where, like, to an extent, I wouldn't say we were the law, because at the end of the day, we were just there to get the food, get the ammo, and get the water to the guys that were out on the ground. Like, any forward operating base in Helmand province, we went to. Like, it was our job to get the stuff there, because you couldn't ferry it in with helicopters all the time. Helicopters could only carry so much. So we'd have like 50 to sometimes 70 vehicle convoys heading up to these places. Sometimes we couldn't even fit inside the camp because the camp was so small. So we'd be sat outside, especially like Fob Edinburgh. We'd be sat outside. So what we would do is we'd speak to the chef before we left. We'd get like ice and everything like that, pack out one of the backs of one of the Wimix, chuck like all the food and stuff in there, and just make sure that like we could have a barbecue when we were up there instead of just eating rations all the time, and get the guys out for the Fob and like treat them to some good food, as opposed to, you know, the same run of the mill like corned beef and hash or just whatever comes out of a ration pack. It's no fun living off that stuff. Like, definitely no fun living off that.
Can't imagine it. And obviously you talked a wee bit there about sort of winning hearts and minds, and effectively it seems like they weren't just wanting regime change. It seems like the powers that be, they were wanting like a sort of cultural change there as well, like in terms of...
Well, to an extent. I mean, if you look at the way things have gone since like America and Britain and all the coalition pulled out, if you look at things from that, you'll see that like girls' schools are banned again. Like, education for women's out the window. Like, there's none of that. Like, all the 20 years that the coalition were there, that's all gone. Like, that's by the by.
How does it make you feel then? Like, you've been over there and you've had all those some traumatic experience, you know, life changing event experiences, and then that's now happened. Like,
well, it was I think a lot of people died for stuff that could have been avoided. Don't get me wrong, like, did they have to go in after Osama bin Laden? Yeah, if he was a mastermind, like he was a mastermind behind the 9/11. So yeah, they had to go and get that guy, right? But did they have to stay there as long as they did? Did they have to, you know, put as many people's lives on the line that they did? Probably not. Like, there's guys that died out there that probably shouldn't have died. Dan Shirley died out there when I was out there. He took my Wimmick when I was on R&R. And when I got back into theatre, I'd found out that somebody had died from our regiment, but I didn't know who. And when I found out it was him, like, he was like Mr. Invincible. Like, everybody looked at this guy like he's untouchable. And when he died, it was like, weird, what the hell? I mean, like, see the body armour that we had when we went out to Iraq? That wasn't fit for purpose. Like, a wee chest plate about that size. Tiny, absolutely tiny. And same at the back. When I went to Afghan, I had the full body armour. So it was like, basically, for there down, I was covered. But when you're in Iraq, you had like this wee plate about that size, which was about as much use as a chocolate fire guard. You know, it's, yeah. Why send me out with insufficient kit? You know, like, I know Iraq wasn't as big a hotspot at the time, but Iraq started to go that way. Like, after we left, Iraq started to get really bad again, and they started to get a lot of convoys were getting attacked, and yeah, like, they basically wanted the coalition out of there, which is, it's understandable to an extent. I mean, you don't understand their life, you don't understand their culture, you try as best as you can to learn about it, but at the end of the day, like, you're like, it would be a bit like somebody coming into Scotland and saying, right, I'm going to move here, I'm going to move there, I'm going to shut that road, and that road, and you can't do anything about it. Like, it wasn't that we wanted to shut roads, we just had to make sure that the convoys were safe, and it would piss off the locals to no extent. But that's what it was like in Iraq. You just had to stop the convoy, vehicles would roll through, and then you would pull back on, you'd carry on. But I, like, harping back to Dan, like, he shouldn't have gone out like that. But, like, he's one of those guys that you think, like, he was the epitome of just his stature, just him as a person. He was just one of those guys that everybody looked up to. He was just a go-to guy for anything. And I wouldn't like to say his life was wasted out there, but there's certain things that I sit there and think, there's times where it's even gone through my head and I thought it should have been me. Do you know what I mean? Like, that should have been me, it should have been my wagon. But I wasn't there at the time. Like, it was divine intervention to an extent. It was one of them that I thought, somebody's looking out for me upstairs. But why him? Do you know what I mean? Like, why did it have to be him? Why, like, I didn't want it to be anybody, to be honest, but like, when you're 3 months into an operational tour and the talisman, like, sort of thing, like, he was looked upon by the blokes as like the go-to guy. You had any issues, like, he'd take the piss out of you for it, but he would stand up for you, look out for you, he'd back you to the hilt as well. He'd be like, right, you might be able to do this or you might be able to do that. Like, he was knowledgeable in almost every sense. He was just one of those really, really good blokes. But for him to go the way he went, nah, like, stuff like that, like, I'd say it bothers me a wee bit, but there's nothing I can do about it. Like, people dwell on stuff like that, but you have to remember them every year, but you've still got to live your life as well. Do you know what I mean? It's one of them that, like, people always chat about PTSD and stuff like that. I wouldn't say I've got it. Some people might look at this and think, oh, he's definitely got it, but I wouldn't say I compartmentalise things. I just think, do you know what? If it's my time, it's my time. I've got that look on life now that, like, when it's my time, it's my time. There's nothing I can do to stop it. I just need to get on with it. And it's a bit like see when people are chatting about Russia and Ukraine and all that. Oh, World War III might kick off. I've had mates ask me, like, what do you think's going to happen there? Well, if it's going to happen, it'll happen. You probably won't know about it. Because, like, let's face it, if Russia's going to kick off against the UK, Faslane Naval Base is just down the road. They're going to take out the nuclear subs, right? So you're talking the whole central belt of Scotland's going to disappear off the face of a map with a nuclear missile, right? That's basically the scenario that Russia would look at, right?
Well, let's hope
that'll
no.
not happen. That'll not happen.
Let's hope no.
Like, that's why when people sit there and go, like, you see, I'm really worried about this and I'm really worried about that. I'm not. I'm genuinely not worried about it, because if it was going to happen, it would happen. There's nothing you can do to stop it. You might as well just live your life. Stop worrying about stuff that's out with your control.
I agree with that. I think that's a healthy way to live. But obviously, you sort of mentioned Russia and Ukraine, and Grant Sharp's sort of name was mentioned earlier. I think we, as citizens of this country, where we can have an influence is try to talk them down, right? So we can sort of be like, we are no supportive of these wars.
But how can you do that when there's only like two main political parties? How can you do that? I know in Scotland obviously we've got the SNP as well, but the SNP don't really have a voice in Westminster.
Exactly. I do agree there is a two-party political system in the UK as a whole, but it doesn't need to be like that, right? There can be other parties and other movements that get formed, especially with things like war. Obviously before Iraq there was a sort of huge Stop the War coalition. Obviously it wasn't effective, but there was still a lot of people out there marching in the streets. I think with guys like you coming in here and sort of telling your story, like, people are surely be looking at that and going, we don't want to send boys for our areas and our communities to go and die for rich men to make money.
There's a massive case of that. Like, I'm pretty sure there's people still in now that have lost mates that are thinking, do you know what? They probably shouldn't have gone out like that. I mean, like, from our background, we're quite fortunate that, like, apart from who I've known that's like passed away, like, I know a couple of people that have committed suicide through PTSD. Like, they obviously had their demons, it haunted them, but that's the effects of war as well. Like, see when it comes to, like, support after, like, Afghan and places like that, like, the support's minimal. Like, and unless you're literally banging your head off a wall and close to getting sectioned, they're not interested. You were just a number when you were in, you're a number when you get out. Like, that's the thing. It's mental health's a big thing these days, and there's a lot more people going through mental health trauma than what there was before these wars kicked off. I'm sure of that. But obviously, in day-to-day life as well, there's a lot of people that have got, like, mental health issues, and they don't get the support they need because the funding's not there. But yeah, harping back to, like, Grant Sharp, yeah, he can wait and take a run and jump, mate, as far as I'm concerned.
I know, I agree with that. It came up in the sort of first podcast that I did with Rob Kane, the sort of subject of mental health, and I think the Tories are saying they want, it's like 1,000 more GPs or something in Scotland. It's like one of their policies, but I personally would be up for, 1,000 or 10,000 more therapists and psychologists in Scotland, because, like, so obviously you're talking about in the military, a lot of people suffering trauma, but sort of touched upon it earlier, like people in emergency services. Some of my mates are social workers. The vicarious trauma that they have to experience through just trying to be good people and do their job is unfathomable, to be honest. It's pretty horrific to think about what they get exposed to, through their work, and doesn't seem to be a lot of support there either. So hopefully the politicians are looking at this and try to think of ways that they can help there.
But see how you're saying pledges, right? They pledge to do this and they pledge to do that, right? See when they get in, who cares about that? That happens every time, right? See if they were actually held accountable for the stuff that they said they were going to do. Like, so when they get in on a manifesto that, like, right, we're going to get X amount of police officers on the streets, we're going to do mental health, we're going to do this. Right, if you've not got, like, 1, 2 and 3 of that 12-page list or whatever done within the first year, where you go? General election. Why are they not held to account? Because all these, like, this is the one thing that annoys me about politics. They sit there and they say, right, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. It does never happen. Like, so many people get voted in on, that's a great idea, let's do that, or that's a brilliant idea, right, we're going to hit that. And it's just gone. Out the window, who cares, right, we're in now, we'll do what we want to do, we'll give our mates kickbacks, we'll do whatever, right.
Did you just leave the army when your time was up?
No. I tried getting a posting closer to home when I was in Colchester, when I was in Afghan. I was still based in Colchester at the time. My mum suffered, I think it was something like 5 TIAs. They were like, it's basically leading up, like they're going to lead up to like a mini stroke or a stroke, right? So stress wasn't helping, me being away, stuff like that. So when I got back, I tried getting a posting closer to home, and I knew there was postings in Glencorse just to take like the intake, like PTI job for the intake. There was a posting at 11 EOD Regiment, which was in Edinburgh at the time. That's the bomb disposal regiment. There was a posting at the careers office in Edinburgh, and there was also a posting at Scottish Transport Reg, which is, I think it's in Irvine or Troon or something like that. So I knew there was 4 postings in Scotland that had places available that I could get posted into. And I tried speaking to Manning and Records and basically saying, like, look, I'm due a posting soon. Can you post me to one of these 4 places? I'll put all 3 of them down as like my preferred postings. And they're like, nah, they're not available. And I went, what do you mean they're not available? I was like, I know people at all these places and there is places available. How do you know that? I was like, because I know people that are based there right now. They're due to leave and that slot's becoming available. And they were like, well, nah, closest we can give you is Northern Ireland. And I was like, I'm doing this to try and be closer to my parents, like, because my mum's not well at the time. I said, I'm doing this to try and be closer to my family, right? And you're basically telling me the closest you can do is Northern Ireland. Oh, well, you get X amount of weekends extra a year. It's like, I don't care, mate. There's a big sea between Scotland and Northern Ireland. How am I going to get home every weekend? I was like, that's a ferry ride every weekend. I was like, nah, what else have you got? I was like, have you got Cattrick? You got something like that? They gave me Cattrick. I got posted to 5 Med Reg. First day in the regiment, I went straight to the gym. The core PT man, Staff Sergeant Fox, I went and saw him and I was like, look, I'm due to get out. I was like, I'm signing off today, I'm getting out. This will be my last year in the army. Any chance you can claim me at the gym? And he was like, yeah, I can do that. He's like, I'm in my last year as well. So he's like, I've got no problem with you basically being in the gym for the year. So when I went into my troop, spoke to the OC, I says, look, I've been claimed by the gym in the gym slot. I said, so I'm going to be the gym's PTI for the next year. All right, okay, right, that's cool, brilliant. Just to let you know a little bit about the regiment, we're going to Afghanistan and we're going to be going out on Hyrox 13, we're going to be doing this. And I was like, I'm just going to stop you there, sir, I'm not going anywhere. And what do you mean? I was like, I've signed off. He's like, what? He's like, you've just been posted in. I said, yeah, I signed off this morning. I was like, I'm done. I was like, I've realised, like, look, I'm just a number. I was like, the army's fucked me over, so why should I give the army any more of my time? Like, I probably would have done 22 years if they'd just given me that posting closer to home. I probably would have gone a couple of different places. I don't know, like, I can't say I would definitely have stayed in, but I would have stayed in for at least another 3 years. Do you know what I mean? Like, they would have got another 3 years out of me for that. And that's just, you know, keeping people happy, like looking after people after they've done their bit for you, if you know what I mean. So I was just sitting there thinking, do you know what, I'm done with this. I'm done. I'll give you. I even said this time, I was like, look, I'll give you the year, no problem. I'll do what I need to do. I'll graft my arse off, but I'm done. I was like,
mentally checked it basically.
Aye, I would quite happily, like, you know, train people the way they were meant to be trained, look after them, give advice where needed. Still went on exercise. I still did all the things a soldier should do, but I was at the point where I was like, do you know what, I'm done. I am physically and mentally done with this, because I've been not so much shafted, but shafted when I needed the army to have my back, if you know what I mean. And
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
Why do you think they never posted you back to Scotland?
Don't know. Genuinely don't know. Like, we'd need to get the person from Manning Records, and I don't even know who that person's name was. Like, it was just a person at the end of a phone.
So he's not had to sort of check him. She's
yeah.
Apologies.
No, all good.
Assuming gender there. So she
could be they them. I don't know, mate. Like, I'm not going to open that can of worms either. But do you know what I mean? Like I don't know what their thoughts were.
Because when you were saying it, I was sort of speculating. Were they maybe thinking, if you get posted closer to home and something does happen, does that mean that you're less likely to serve sort of more years? Like, would that have been part of their calculations potentially?
That's one way they could look at it. But I've got a mate that's just been posted, but he got posted to Yorkshire, and he was from Yorkshire. He got posted there, and he ended up then taking a posting elsewhere, and he ended up going overseas to like one of our British overseas territories as well. So, like, if you look after people when they need looking after, they'll 9 times out of 10 you'll probably find, you know what, they're like, do you know what, I need this job, or maybe not so much I need it, I enjoy this job. I enjoyed being a soldier. I really did enjoy being a soldier, but there was way too much bullshit that came with it. I don't know if your brother has told you that, but like, there's a lot of bullshit that came with it. Like,
right, so you left obviously the military because of they weren't supporting you basically with your redeployment back up to Scotland, or your removing back up to Scotland. So how did you transition from there into your fitness stuff? Because it seems like that's your kind of life's passion now.
I'll be honest, I dossed about for quite a few years. I got out 2010. My initial thoughts were I was going to try and get into the police. So I'd geared up to basically go and join the police. And
you like gangs, Alan? One gang for the other?
No. Well, the way I was looking at it was, see the pension for the military into the police. You could basically transfer your pension over, and it would, like, your pension would keep accruing. Do you know what I mean? So I was sitting there thinking, right, do you know what? From that perspective, that's a win-win for me. Like, it was looking to do like a job that my dad was in the police when I was a kid as well. So it was one of them. I thought, do you know what? I'm not trying to be Billy Big Bollocks. I'm not trying to do any of this. Like, it was just, I thought that's something I could see myself doing, right, when I got out. So I thought, right, okay, I'll apply for that. And literally 2 weeks before I was due to get out, I'd already had a letter through saying, like, look, your interview's going to be at Tully Allen at such and such a date. Like, basically, you were going to go in, you were going to get grilled by the commanders of your force at that time. It wasn't Police Scotland then, it was like you still had living in boardings and all that, right? So like that I was gearing myself up for that, and then I got a letter through the door basically saying all recruitment into the police has stopped. And that was when, like, the financial, like the burden for the financial crisis really hit, 2009 into 2010. They basically found themselves with apparently too many police officers, if you can believe that, right? They found themselves with too many and not enough places to put them. So it was like, right, all recruiting stopped. So when I got out, I was like, all right, my potential career path's just taking a side. And I ended up just doing a dead-end job for about 6 months. Like, I was working at the local peat farm. And honestly, I think the Beast of the East hit in 2010 as well, and I was working outside in that, and I thought, I even said to Louise, I was like, I will go back to the army before I do another couple of months up there. I was like, I'm done. I was like, I've got my HGV licence, I'm going to go and look at that, I'm going to go and get into driving, because I can't do that anymore. Like, outdoor working and that sort of that was just a job to tide me over for a little bit, but it was one of them. I thought, do you know what, I need something calm, I need something that's on my doorstep that I just don't need to think about. And I didn't need to think about that job. It was like literally go up, drive a tractor, chill out, listen to the radio, relax, right? It was mind-numbingly boring. It was a crap job, but
do you think you needed time to decompress? Like
a little bit, probably, but aye, it was. I mean, like, see when I was in R&R, I think it was Iraq. We were getting mortared in Iraq quite a lot. When I was in R&R for Iraq, I remember walking down the grass market, and a car the car exhaust backfired, and I hit the ground like a ton of bricks, thinking it was like, a weapon system going off, and I was like, as soon as I did it, my mate's like, what the fuck are you doing? And I just looked up, I was like, I can't believe I've just done that. But it was one of those things, like stuff like that happens, right?
Instinct.
Aye, but you've gone for like 3 months, like highly sprung, 2 weeks on compression, like on rest and recuperation, and then you're straight back out. But getting back to like changing, like decompression to an extent, yeah, probably. It was just Afghan was a weird tour. It was just one of them that, like, you were. I would say your thought process was like constantly, I need to be at a high alert of readiness all the time. I need to spot something before it happens. You were constantly like, right, what's that doing? Anything out. We've got a saying in the military, it's like absence of the normal, presence of the abnormal. So if you see something, you think, that's a bit sketchy, going to watch that. Like you're sitting there, you're thinking, right, this could go sideways at any second. I need to be on alert here. Going from that to, do you know what, I don't need to do anything anymore. I can just chill out. I can just relax. It was one of them that it was just, I sort of shut myself off from everything, probably for about, probably talking a good 2, maybe 3 years. Like I sort of stepped back a wee bit, and I sort of, I wouldn't say I went in on myself, but because I would still chat to mates, I'd still, chat to people, like catch up with them, whatever, but still go out to the movies, day-to-day things. But if I didn't have to go out, I wouldn't go out. I sort of stayed in a lot more than what I did going out. But it was when I met my mate Steve, who I hadn't seen since I met him through my mate Danny. Like my mate Steve, he put up an advert on Facebook saying like, oh, health fit up the Pentlands this weekend, blah blah blah. And I was like, do you know what, I'm going to go to that. And my mate Danny messaged me and was like, didn't go to that, you'll die. I was like, Danny, do you know what I used to do in the military? I was like, that's exactly the sort of stuff I used to do. So I went along to Steve's session. It was just like doing like a military, I wouldn't say a boot camp style session. It was more like a hill running session. And I was in my element. I was back where I needed to be mindset wise. And I was, from that point onwards, I sort of started looking more towards thinking, do you know what, I might actually get back into PT. But it took me a while to get round to doing it. I mean, like if I'd just transferred my qualification before I got out, and this, like, it would only cost me about $5, right? If I just phoned up reps, I could have been like, right, I'm a military PTI, I want to transfer this qualification over, bang, you're a level 3 personal trainer. That would have been it, you'd have been sorted, right? But I didn't do that. My qualification lapsed in the military. So when I got out, it was like, I sort of, once I'd got away from that, like, that crap dead end job, I started doing agency driving with the trucks, and eventually I got to a point where I went into Aldi, and I thought, do you know what, this actually looks like an alright gig in here. It looks okay, and I worked at Aldi for 6 and a bit years. I mean, job wise, like as a driving job wise, after about a year, and I'm pretty sure it's about a year, I'd worked there as a year agency and a year full time. Apparently I wasn't eligible to go into the office, but I was basically told that, look, there's a job in the office, might want to stick your name in the hat for that. So I stuck my name in the hat for that, and it was only at the time, about a month went by, and I was thinking, well, I've not got that job then because I've not had an interview. And the next thing, the manager just jumps in the truck with me, and he's like, can you drop me off at the Audi garage? I'm like, cool. Driving him down, and he's just chatting to me, just chatting to and from. Like, I just thought I was chatting to Chris, my transport manager. Basically, got back to the depot, and the next again morning, I get pulled into the office. I'm like, oh shit, what have I done? Because like whenever you got pulled into the office, it was always like you'd messed up or you'd done something wrong. They're like, how do you think it went yesterday? I was like, what went? They're like, your interview. I was like, what interview? They're like, that interview you had with Chris. I was like, that was my interview. They're like, aye, you ready to start in the office next week? And I'm like, aye, all right. Like it was one of them. It was like right place, right time sort of thing, right? So I ended up working in the office for a few years doing like transport planning and all that sort of thing. But it got to, it was about 2019. Was it 2019? I'm pretty sure it was 2019. 2018, 2019, something like around about that. I got chatting away to my mate, and I was like, do you know what? I think I've still got, like, it was coming to, it was 2019. It was coming to the end of my 10 years since I'd been out of the military. And I'd completely forgotten I had access to funding for courses. So if you got like a level 3 qualification or above, the military, if you'd served X amount of years, the military would give you money towards that. So I think I had to pay 600 quid, and they paid something like about 1,800, 2 grand. They paid that towards it, but because it was like a level 3 qualification or above. So my enhanced learning credits, I got that. Went and spoke to the local company that basically did that, like the Fitness Education Academy. I went and chatted to them, and basically requalified through them as a gym instructor and then a personal trainer. Did my level 3 diploma through them, and then it was one of them. I thought, right, I've got my qualification now. I was still working at Aldi at the time. I was thinking I need to try and build my business for here. So went from there into just taking boot camps at the Glencore Centre. Now I did this in and around my job, and I was still doing transport planning like Monday to Friday some weeks, and it'd be like Saturday, Sunday, and however many days the next week. Like your rest days would basically split it up, so it was like weekend on, weekend off. But the way I worked it was like a Monday night and a Friday night, I would take 2 boot camps both nights. And obviously, you can imagine about a month after I set up, COVID hit. So that was it. I was like, well, this isn't going anywhere. I thought, fuck me, of all the times that I could set up, I thought, brilliant, this is great. So the plus side of that was, I thought, do you know what, I've actually made... Like I've got quite a few people in. They all know the boot camp. They all like the boot camp. They all like the way that I set up, the way that I structure it. It's open to all abilities. Like people can basically turn up with like little to no training at all, and they'll still get around it. It's just you go at your own pace on that station, sort of thing, right? And everybody else, well, you know, they'll encourage you, but you need to remember they're going through their aim fight. They're trying to go as fast as they can for that station. Like, you don't need to worry about them, just worry about yourself. And you don't need to worry about them watching you, because they're dying as well, if you know what I mean. Like they're going at their own pace. But it was one of the good things was, like, once it all sort of started to die down, the first thing that opened back up was outdoor training. So I ended up sticking on, like, I had my mate Steve that I was chatting about that got me back into fitness. He basically was like, look, I'm working with Hibs with the sports science on the Wednesday nights. I've got to basically do like all the testing and stuff for the kids. He's like, any chance you could maybe start back up the Warrior Fit sessions Tuesday or Wednesday night? And I was like, well, I take my boot camps on a Monday and I've got boot camps on a Friday. I was like, so how about Wednesday? And he was like, aye. He's like, whatever suits you. He's like, it's not for me. It's mainly for the runners, because they want the Warrior Fit group back, like class back. I was like, aye, cool, I can do that. So I started taking that running class, and the way we got around like a lot of the restrictions was you could run in pairs of 2. So what we did was we would create like escape and evasion sessions round Edinburgh, right? And the escape and evasion sessions would basically, you'd be running in pairs, but if I caught you, like technically I'm not running with you, like I would give you checkpoints to hit, and my job was to try and catch everybody, like, because everybody would take a different route. Everybody would be like, I need to think tactically about this, I need to get to there, I need to make sure he doesn't catch me, but I still need to beat him back. So I would set them off all before me, and I would try and catch them, like, in and around different areas of Edinburgh, and if I caught them, they got, like, punishment exercises, like burpees or something like that. But that was the way we got around the restrictions and still kept up as, like, a running group, right? And the boot camps, when that opened back up, every single station, I had, like, antibacterial spray sitting at the stations. So whenever you finished at the station, quick scoosh, quick wipe, like, there was cloths here as well. It was like literally everybody was wearing gloves, quick scoosh, it was outdoors. That took off really well, but then obviously one of the first things to open back up after that, when, like, the lockdown sort of came to an end, was the pubs. So my Friday night sessions went for like 20 to 25 people to 5 people coming in, and I was like, oh my God. If I'd set it up on a Thursday night, it would have been probably, you know, they would have kept coming. But the lure of the pub on the Friday night, like, it's the weekend as well. You're never going to get, like, the footfall that you did when they were locked up in the house, because they just wanted out of the house. So it was one of them, like, my Friday sessions went down to one session a week on a Friday, and I kept 2 on the Monday night. But now what I've done is I've amalgamated 1 on the Monday, like the 2 on the Monday into 1, because I've got my wee PT studio now. I've got PTs during the week, and my Wednesday night running class, I now take Wednesday circuits in the PT studio, and I also take Saturday morning classes as well. I've got like 2 classes in the morning, and I've got like a Hyrox training class after that, where, like, people that are training, like people that are coming to my gym that want to go to Hyrox, they come in and basically utilise that class to get themselves fitter. And then it's just personal training during the week. But I mean, it was one of them that, like, getting back into fitness, it was quite hard. It was always where sort of like my passion laid, if you know what I mean. And when I was working with Aldi, I got a phone call from a guy that I know. He had a gym, and he basically was like, look, do you want to come and work with me? And I looked at the numbers, like, I took a massive hit to go and work for him. I was losing like $6,000 a year to go and work for him, but it was to get experience as well, right? So I thought, do you know what, sod it, I'll do it. And I worked for him for, it was close to 6 months, and then out of nowhere, day before my holiday, this was when the cost of living crisis kicked in. As soon as that kicked in the space of 2 weeks, he lost about 20 members, and I was last in, first out, sort of thing. He was like, look, I can't afford to keep you on, sort of thing. And I was sitting there thinking, day before my holiday, you could have put your time in a wee bit better. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're sitting there thinking, fuck.
That wasn't when you seen me in the airport. That wasn't when you were growling.
No, mate, I didn't have my specs on. That's why I was like, is that Paul? Yeah. No, but I was sitting there thinking, fuck. And he's like, hi, we've got the classes and stuff to take tonight and blah, blah, blah. I was like, look, I'm going home. I was like, I need to go and pass this bullet on to the wife. And I was raging. I was absolutely raging. But it was one of them, I thought to myself, right, how do I bounce back for this? What do I do next? And when I was on holiday, I had like a small gym in my end garden, but it was in 2 shitty little garden sheds. And I was sitting there thinking, I can't train people in that. I just can't. And my dad basically phoned me up and he's like, look, I want to do something for you, your brother and your sister that was never done for me by my parents. He's like, I want to give you all a bit of your inheritance before I die. He's like, so I'm going to give you a wee lump sum. Like, that wee lump sum, basically, it wasn't like, it wasn't like 5 figures or anything like that. It was like four figures, but it was enough to make me think, right, I've got funding there. How do I make this work? So Louisa, my wife, being the demon that she is, was like, she went around searching. Oh, she's a demon on the internet. Like, honestly, she'll find anything. Like, if you want something that's like, if she can find you something cheaper, like if it's out there, she'll find it. But it was one of them. I was thinking, oh no, what do I do here? I don't want to go back driving. and it was one of them. We looked at these log cabins, and I was looking at it thinking, that's not the sort of money I've got when I need to buy a squat rack, I need to buy dumbbells, I need to buy this, I need to buy that. Like, I was thinking, I need to buy all this kit to make this little studio work. And I was thinking, oh my God, like I don't know if I can do this. I had a lot of kit already, but I was thinking, I don't know if I can do this with the funding that I've got. And Louisa went looking, and she's like, right, well, we can do that, and we can do that, and we can do this. And she sort of made me take a step back and think, right, I mean, like, even when we were on holiday, like, I got that billet the day before I went on holiday. Even when we were on holiday, Louisa, she was looking at me, she's like, how can you be so calm? And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, fucking look at you, you're not stressed. I was like, look, there's no point stressing about it just now. Like, we're on holiday. And she's like, but you've not got a fucking job. She's like how is this not worrying you? How is this not, computing with you? And I was like, look, at the end of the day, I was like, it'll work out. She's like, how do you know that though? And I was like, look, I'm confident I can make this work. So I just sat there and I thought, do you know what, it's now or never. Like, I need to just bite the bullet, get the equipment, and see how it goes. So I got a load of, like, already had barbells, weights, all that sort of stuff. Wasn't the best of gear, but it was gear. So it was one of them that I thought, you know what, I can do stuff with that. I can make plans with that. So I started basically training people from my little log cabin that I'd bought in my end garden. And from there, like, honestly, within about 6 months, we were looking for somewhere else, and I ended up moving to a wee studio in Pennycook, which is, I've now been there for a year and a quarter now. So it's taken off. Like, I do want to expand. I do want to make it a bit bigger, because I know if it's bigger, I've got more kit. I can then open it. Like, I could then look at, like, doing like a hybrid model where I can train my PT clients, but people can also come in and train and use it as a gym. Mm-hmm. There is that option that I'm looking to try and do, but it's one of them. It's taking that leap, getting to that next step. So it was one of them that I just thought to myself, do you know what? I need to just keep working away, keep doing what I'm doing, try and save a wee bit of money, and then if it's feasible, make it happen. If it's not feasible, just keep chipping away at it until it is feasible. The good thing about when I worked at Aldi, I wrote like a couple of Excel spreadsheets up for myself that I use for basically tracking all my money and, like, what's coming in, what's going out, what I've got gross profit, all that sort of stuff. And it basically all goes into a yearly tally, so I can basically just punt that off to my accountant and be like, right, there's all my receipts. There's it there on a handy table. And, like, I can get my accountant sorted. Like, it was one of them, like the first thing I did last year, and it probably crippled me a wee bit, was, you see, in your first year of business now, you've got to pay all the money up all the money up for that year, but you then got to pay half next year's up front as well, right? That, like, so many people that I've spoke to about that, if you've been in a operation for a while, it's not so bad because you've already got the money there, you're already able to build it. But my first year, there was a couple of times in December last year where I was already paid up to June or July this year. Like, I'm pretty much paid up to January next year. It was one of them. I was sitting there thinking, oh no, like, I could have done with some of that money right now. I had an issue with the car where I was sitting there thinking, oh my God, I could use that money that I just punted into my tax account, but didn't have it because the tax man's got it. So it's one of them silver linings and all that. Like, it's my tax is paid, but it's knowing what to do when it comes to setting your business up. I didn't know everything. Like, the first time I sent off a tax account, I thought, I can do this myself. I'll have a wee play a bit with that. I'll try that. Little did I know that, like, once you've submitted your tax return and you log out, you need to log back in for it to send your tax account off. Exactly. I can see on your face, like, right?
It doesn't seem the best.
No, it's not the best, because I thought, I've sent my tax account off. And when tax season comes round, I'm thinking I'm due them about £1.15 or something, which is what I was due them, right? I got a bill through for £101.15, and I'm thinking, what the fuck? Like, why am I getting hit with that? They're like, yeah, you're getting hit with a penalty because you're late at paying your tax. I was like, how does that work out? I was like, because I sent my tax return off. As soon as, like, when I was chatting to him on the phone, he's like, log back in. As soon as I logged in, it says, bing, your tax account is, your tax record's been sent. And I'm like, bastards. Like, and they basically said, you need to log back in to do it. I was like, well, no time during the process did it tell me you need to log back in and then log back out for your tax return to get sent off. So, I was wondering, like, there's a lot of learning curves, like, when you're starting out and you're setting up yourself, but like I was saying with that job, when I got fired, and I thought, do you know what, I'm fucked. Like, to go from that to having, like, my own business, something I can call my own, having PT clients that enjoy their training. I've actually got, like, PT app that basically all my clients that come in and basically do PT with me, they get the app away with them. So not only when they're training with me, like, if they want to go to another gym throughout the week and get another couple of sessions in, they've got the PT plan sitting there so they can go and train and they can follow those plans. But they've also got it also allows them to track their calories. So it's got, like, an in-app meal tracker that they can do. It's got calorie goals, like, literally I can set up, like, the calorie goals for them as well, so that they can basically, right, that's the targets that I need to hit. It breaks down the macros that they need to hit as well, like your fat, your carbs, your proteins, sets all that out for them, lets them know what they've taken in on a daily basis, and it helps them towards their goals.
Do you need to be, like, a member of your, like, gym to use the app, or can anybody use it?
Well, to use the app through me, yeah, but, like, 9 times out of 10 it's personal trainers that buy this for their business, or they pay a subscription. Like, I pay a subscription every month for this, for X amount of members of my gym. Mm-hmm. I've got a couple of online clients that they basically pay me online for their PT plans and basically for use of the app as well. So that's all included in one price. Like, I've looked around the market and I've made sure that I'm cheaper than everybody else because I want to see people succeed. But the one thing that annoys me is that you know what Pennycook's like. It's not exactly flush with cash. Like, there is certain areas of it that, like, you'll get people that are all right. They're pretty well off. But you've got other areas where people are struggling, and I want the people from both sides to be able to come and use it. I want people from both sides to be able to succeed and do what they want to do. Now, the one thing about being a PT, and the one pain in the backside about being a PT, is you can tell somebody to go and do it, but it's that old leading a horse to water trick. Like, they've got to want it to succeed at it. I can't control what you put in your mouth. Do you know what I mean? Like, so if you're at a point where you're like, do you know what, I feel like having a pizza tonight, have a pizza. Like, just make sure it's factored into your calories. Like, if you factor everything into your calories, you don't really need to. It's going to be a bump in the road, but it's not gonna impede you in the long term. Like, if you're still cutting calories and you're still under and you're still in a deficit, you're gonna get to where you need to be. Just be a wee bit slower, but you're gonna get there. You've still got to live. I've got one client, Lindsay. Like, she's absolutely smashed it. Like, from when she started with me to now, she's lost 20 kilos. So 20 kilos is a lot. 2.2 pounds a kilo. There's 44 pounds for any American viewers you might get, right? Like, basically, from start to there, like, for her to just track her food and track her diet and follow the plans and train out with training with me, like, just staying on top of it, being consistent. I even said to her, like, well, and I say this to everybody, like, when you go away on holiday, you're on holiday. Don't worry about this stuff. This stuff will be here when you get back. Go and enjoy your holiday. Will you put on a couple of pounds, maybe a kilo? Yeah. Everybody does when they're on holiday. You're on holiday, enjoy yourself, right? There's no point going on holiday and saying, right, great, I'll have a lettuce leaf for my dinner, right? You want to have well, not everybody might want to have a steak. I personally want to have a steak. I want to have, like, nice food that I don't always get every day like back home. It's something like that. You want to experience good food when you're on holiday. So when it comes to stuff like that, I always try and get through to people that like you'll be your own worst enemy with this stuff. You need to take account for your actions, but also when you come home from a holiday or whatever, right? You need to just get back into the routine. It's hard getting back into the routine, going, oh my God, I need to eat like whatever I want to eat. You don't have to cut a lot of stuff out. It's just a case of cutting back. Like everything in moderation. I mean, even alcohol, you can still go out and enjoy yourself. You could like, just don't kick the arse out of it. Like it's just a case of just cutting back on certain things, like not doing it all the time. Whereas like you get some people that will come along and be like, I have 3 takeaways a week, and you're like, well, there's your issue, mate. If you cut that out, you're going to save a load of money, and you're probably going to lose a lot of weight pretty fast. But like on the flip side of that, you'll get people that are like, right, I'm only eating this, I'm only eating that, and you're like, well, you're not eating enough. You're training, but your body's going, oh my God, I am not getting enough sustenance to basically look after it, look after my body here. I can't, like your body gets to the point where it just doesn't want to.
Can't sustain.
It can't sustain exercise. You end up absolutely shattered. You end up just snowballing. Like you get to a point where you go to bed, you're tired. You wake up, you're tired. You need to fuel your body for the exercise you're doing. And that's where a lot of people like fall off the bandwagon with it. Like they get 2 months in and they're like, fuck this. But that's the point where you need to stick at it. Because if you get to like the 3 and the 4 month point, as long as you're doing everything you're meant to be doing, progress will come. Might be baby steps, but it'll come.
So how can people get in contact with you then, Alan? Like if they're in the sort of Midlothian area?
I'm on Facebook and Instagram, so it's AGR Fitness.
What about, so we'll wrap up soon probably because we've done 2 hours and 5 minutes, so we've went a while here.
I've waffled a while, you mean?
Oh, no, all good, mate. There's been loads of good stuff. What about, was there any, was something that was quite heavy obviously, so was there any kind of lighter moments, either for your time in the army, like any sort of memorable stories or nights out or anything, or even for like when you left and you went into Civvy Street?
There's a couple of light-hearted memories that I definitely can't say on this. But
don't tell me them then.
But there's that's just lads' nights out. It's just been a messy night out. But like there's one lad that was in Colchester with, named Glenn Noble. That guy was he was absolutely hilarious. Like honestly, like just see when anything was going wrong, like he would always turn it into a funny moment. Like let's just say we were out in Fob, Edinburgh. He was stationed out there for a bit, right? So when we rocked up, he's like, going to see the boys, right? So he came over, walking over, and he was like, all right boys, how's it going? We're like, all right Glenn, what's happening? And he's like, I'm thinking about retrading to the Taliban. We're like, what? We're like, where did that come from? He's like, I'm thinking about retrading to the Taliban. He's like, because they get cold water. We're like, what are you on about? He's like, well, the Taliban boy just got flown in on a helicopter. He gets taken straight to the ISO container. That's a freezer that's basically used for cooling water and dead bodies. Now, the only people that got the cold water was the medics. They were keeping it for themselves. So they basically gave this Taliban cold water, like, well, Taliban insurgent cold water, but the troops weren't even getting cold water. It was literally, honestly, water that was sitting out in the sunshine. And you're talking 50-degree heat. It was boiling hot. The only way you could drink it was mixing it with like tea and hot chocolate. So his first thing was like, I'm definitely retrading Taliban. You can grow a beard, you get cold water. He's like, that's just shit. So it was just like light-hearted moments like that. I mean, Glenn's sadly no longer with us as well, because he when he got out, he ended up drugs and all, you know. But like he definitely, he was a good lad, like really good lad. Fun times, like my mate Lee Duxbury as well. He's definitely somebody that I'll always keep in touch with, like, because he's just again, bit like me, like whenever the chips are down, it's always like, can't make me pregnant, no way. Like, it's if you're having a bad time, you can always laugh at each other. You can always just, you know, they can try and fuck you as much as they want, but they can't make you pregnant. Like, that's the way you would look at things, right? Like, sorry about the analogy. But aye, I'd probably say my mate Steve as well. Steve Kernan, like, he definitely helped me. I'd probably say get my mojo back for personal training and physical training, because it was one of them where, like, I've always loved fitness. I loved fitness at school. I loved, you know, it was the only thing I really excelled at school, and it was the only thing I really wanted to do when, like, basically in life. I enjoy keeping fit myself. I thought, do you know what? Why not just do something about it? So he got me back into physical fitness, with, like, signing up to, like, Spartan races, running competitions, all that sort of stuff. And he's always the one that, like, you can phone up and he'll just be like, it's not that bad, is it? Like, he'll make light of, like, a dark situation or whatever. Like, like I said to you out there, like, when I was running the Glencoe Marathon, right, I ended up getting lost on that, because, like, when we got to the top of the Monroe, the white mist descended, there was white flags. I followed the guy in front of me, ended up, like, cliff climbing down this waterfall to catch him, but I caught him, and then realised I was on the wrong side of the mountain when I got back to checkpoint 1. Got to checkpoint 2, and that was meant to be mile 9, but I was already at, like, mile 17. So I was 8 miles over, and I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, I didn't need this. So I phoned Louisa. She was like, look, you've got nothing to prove to anybody. You can stop, you can give up, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, all right, cheers for the call. Like, it wasn't what I needed to hear. Like, I needed a fucking get a grip of yourself, eh? Like, I just needed a stern talking to. So I phoned Steve. Steve was like, man up, mate, get on with it. You know you can do this. You've been through harder. Just get on with it. And I was like, right, cheers, mate. I needed that chat. Got up. I actually ended up catching a few people that were still tail markers, even though I'd done, like, an extra 8 miles. Ended up catching them, finishing the race, and it was definitely one of those races where I was like, never want to do that again. Put me off running the Glencoe Marathon for life, but it was one of them that, like, just having people like that in your corner, like, being able to know that you can speak to them and know that you, like, they'll just make light-hearted jokes there, like, it's not that bad, is it? Like, could be worse, could be this, or could be that. Like, always looking at, like, having a different aspect of life, well, the different, you know, sort of take on life, and being able to just be like, I'm thinking about this all wrong.
I think there's a reason why that kind of humour is used, like, universally.
Dark humour.
Aye, because it does help in that situation.
Yeah.
Like, and it can get you out of your head and sort of help you over those barriers sometimes, I think.
Yeah. I know it's always good to lean on it, because it just, you never know. It's one of them, like, it does make you think, right, that's not that bad. I can look at that, I can go over that. Aye, cool, done. Just get on with it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Right, I think we'll call it there, mate. I really
no
appreciate
dramas,
it.
mate.
Thanks very much. Thanks
Yeah,
very much for coming in, mate. I appreciate it.